In 2022, there's been revivals over the last number of years. Some have been hit, some have been missed. But the pure revival of Twilight Zone didn't work in the mid-1980s. Not because there wasn't great creators or great scripts, but the timing was off. Now, there's been two more revivals since then. They've gone nowhere. But the 85 to 88-89 revival is well known for some great scripts. But we're going to go over a little bit of what went right and what went wrong. And the killing off of a certain child actor in one of the key episodes led to a ratings drop that caused him not to recover, even though it was critical acclaim for some of the episodes. Now, Twilight Zone in the mid-1980s was not the Twilight Zone of Rod Serling from 59 to 63. So obvious reasons, it wasn't going to be the same series. Now, we know that Jack Laird had worked with Rod Serling to bring back something similar to Twilight Zone called Night Gallery, and the format of the new Twilight Zone was more Night Gallery and some of its scripts than it was the original Twilight Zone. Now, this series appeared on CBS from 85 to 89. It's the first of three revivals of the original series, which appeared between 59 and 64. Sorry, I said 63. And like the original, it features stories in a variety of speculative fiction, commonly featuring characters from a seemingly normal world stumbling into paranormal circumstances. Now, unlike the original, however, most episodes contain multiple self-contained stories instead of just one. The voiceover narrations were still present, but were not a regular feature as they were in the original series. Some episodes had only an opening narration, some had only a closing narration, and some had no narration at all. The multiple segment format liberated the series from the usual time constraints of episodic television, allowing stories ranging in length from 8 minutes to 40-minute mini-movies. The series ran for 2 seasons on CBS before producing a final season for syndication, produced in Canada but with not the same team at all. Now, Twilight Zone had appeared, the revival, on CBC, and it was a big hit, but again, the momentum after the first 6 or 7 episodes, I don't know what they're expecting, but it didn't create enough buzz to keep it going. Now, after the original TZ ended in 64, Serling sold the rights to the series to CBS, which allowed for a revival of the show by the network at any time. As an in-house production, he stood to earn more money producing The Twilight Zone than he could try purchasing a new series produced by an outside company. Even so, the network was slow to consider revival, shooting down offers from the original production team of Rod Serling and Buck Howden, and later from American filmmaker Francis Ford Coppola. Their hesitation stemmed from concerns familiar original series. TZ had never been the breakaway hit CBS wanted, so they should not expect to do better in the second run. Twilight Zone only become huge in syndication because it was a late-night series after what they called 11:30 news. We were looking at the success of the original series in syndication and enormous popularity of the Steven Spielberg films, said CBS program chief Harry Shepard. Many of them, such as E.T. or Poltergeist, deal with the elements of the show, and at the time he said perhaps the public is ready for it again. Despite the lukewarm response to Twilight Zone the movie, which was a debacle because of the Landis situation with the accident on set, you can look at my podcast about that, Spielberg's theatrical homage to the original series was prevalent. Now, this movie did well amongst certain original fans, and CBS in 84 decided to move forward with a new Twilight Zone series under the supervision of Carla Singer, then VP of Drama Development. Writers and filmmakers involved, including the great Harlan Ellison, George R. Martin of Game of Thrones fame, Rockne S. O'Bannon, Jeremy Breton, Finch, Paul Chitlick, and directors Wes Craven and William Friedkin, of course Friedkin of Exorcist fame. Cast feature stars included such luminaries as Bruce Willis, Helen Mirren, Cecil Hubley, Morgan Freeman, Martin Landau, Jonathan Frakes, Frances McDormand, Victor Garber, and Fred Savage. Now, new theme music was composed and performed by the Grateful Dead, with Merle Saunders, incorporating elements of the classic theme to the original TZ theme by Marius Gonset, which was used in season 2 to 5. The Dead also provided incidental music for a number of episodes in the series. Now, Serling had died in 1975, so he's not available to narrate the new series. Now, this was instead done by Charles Aidman, himself the star of two classic Twilight Zone episodes, including Little Girl Lost. Now, the new series ran for 3 seasons. Most episodes, again, presented 2 or 3 stories within the 1-hour time format. 4 episodes in season 2 were 30 minutes long, and a third season of half-hour episodes were produced in 1988 to expand the series syndication package. Now, B-level Canadian actor Robin Ward replaced Aidman as a narrator of this game-produced episodes, and also replaced Aidman's original narration when the series was cut down to syndication. Now, unlike Serling in the original series, neither Aidman nor Ward appeared on screen. Serling's image does appear fleetingly in the revival's opening credits, however. Now, there was some question if some of the video for the opening was culled from the Waltons TV series, yet to be determined, but it looked familiar. Now, the subsequent revivals would return to having on-screen hosts. Forrest Whitaker in 2002, and of course, Jordan Peele would host the 2019 revival. Now, Twilight Zone debuted the night of September 27, 1985. I was in Quebec, New Brunswick, watching the opening episode. I did not have cable TV, and it was shown to a generally warm reception. It won its Friday night time slot in 4 of its first 5 weeks. Episodes featured adaptations of stories by Harlan Ellison, including Saturday was adapted to Alan Brennert, which launched a new series, the Bruce Willis episode, where it was a battle of 2 versions of himself. Other writers included Greg Bear, Ray Bradbury, Arthur C. Clarke, Robert McCammon, and Stephen King. In contrast to Twilight Zone the movie, which relied primarily on remakes of classic TZ episodes in order to tap the nostalgia market, content for the new Twilight Zone consisted almost entirely of news stories and adaptations of stories which had never been before brought to the television screen. Now, animator Gary Gutierrez designed visual images used in the title sequence, including the ghostly Rod Serling, which he created by projecting Serling's image onto nitrogen. After the images were completed, the footage was taken to a recording studio, while the Grateful Dead both comprised and recorded the title music in a late-night recording session. Now, the biggest winner of the opening season was something called Paladin and the Lost Hour, an episode written by Harlan Ellison, which won the 87 Writers Guild of America Award for Anthology Episode, single program. It was a story about a character played by Danny Kaye, who literally holds the last hour of the world in his hand. Now, executive producer Philip Daguerre stated that CBS initially told him the show would air at 10 p.m., and therefore the earliest episodes were written with that time slot in mind. The late and unexpected rescheduling of the show to the 8 p.m. time slot, widely known as Family Viewing Hour, during which most viewers expected to be able to tune in with their whole family to shows which are proper for all ages, was considered by Daguerre to be inappropriate given the content of the early episodes. He noted that the show dropped from a 30 share to a 22 share between episodes 4 and 5, and attributed this to episode 4, including the segment Nightcrawlers, which he considered one of the most violent and disturbing works to have aired in television at the time. Now, Ellison was an extremely vocal critic of television who had already published 2 collections of essays on the subjects. These feelings surfaced once again when he submitted for Twilight Zone's Christmas special an adaptation of Donnelly Westlake's 64-story Knuckles, in which an obnoxious and mean-spirited drunk frightening his children with stories of malicious anti-Santa Claus was rejected by CBS West Coast program practices. The segment, which was to be Ellison's directorial debut, was halted in mid-production. This cost the program between $150,000 and $300,000, and Ellison's service as a creative consultant. Their suggestions were vile, infamous. Ellison recalled of his aborted attempts to change the network's mind. Now, the Knuckles incident generated a flurry of press, which ultimately proved inadequate to revive public interest in the series. Now, the Twilight Zone was barely renewed for a second season early 1986, basically because he had nothing else to show. Now, when it returned, it debuted in an hour-long format, was put on hiatus for only a few weeks in the season. It had moved the series to Saturday nights, which led to failing ratings. Now, when the Twilight Zone returned in December, the episodes were half hours and generally contained one story. Some episodes, such as The Road Less Traveled, were produced for the hour format, but they were cut down for the half-hour broadcast. Now, the series was eventually canceled by February, with remaining episodes being burned off over the summer's hour-long multi-story episodes. Now, Season 2 only ran for 11 episodes. Several of the unproduced episodes will be filmed for Season 3. And in regard to writing for the episode of Girl I Married, J.M. DeMatteis commented, "I have a feeling that the show that appears will not bear much relation to what I wrote." Now, when the production team was changed, they did the third season all in Canada. There was some good episodes, but not to the level they should have been. Now let's go over quickly some of the key episodes in the what they call the great first season, and it was great. Now, of course, Wes Craven directed both of the opening episodes, including A Little Peace and Quiet, which was a story about nuclear war that was stopped by a necklace owned by a hard-working housewife played by Belinda Dillon. Now, Wes Craven did a episode called Wordplay, which talked about a parallel universe whose English was not basically used for the main languages, and he also did something called Chameleon, which dealt with a strange alien life form. Now, episode 3, what really stood out for a lot of people, the Robert Downey Sr. version of Children's Zoo, which talked about a child bringing their bickering parents to a mysterious attraction called the Children's Zoo. Now, William Friedkin, of course, did Night Crawlers in episode 4. The Examination Day, this is where the series really blew through. Dickie Jordan, played by David Mendenhall, who was a big star at General Hospital, was killed off in the episode because of an alien future where he was too intelligent to be kept alive as part of a mandatory intelligence test. And of course, A Message for Charity with James Cromwell and Kerry Noonan was quite good, but again, killing off the GH character. Now, Paladin and Lost Hour, again, was episode 7. The Dead Woman's Shoes with Helen Mirren, very strong story based on the Charlotte Beaumont one, where basically everybody uses the shoes takes on the title of an aggressive person. Now, Her Pilgrim Soul, of course, episode 12, with Wes Craven, talking about the holographic projection of a child which turns into a woman, sort of the combination. Now, the Misfortune Cookie, which was directed actually by Alan Arkush of MASH fame, with Elliot Gould with the evil Fortune Cookie. The Keep one, but Dead Run really stands on episode 19, where basically Steve Railsback plays Downey's out in his luck trucker Johnny Davis, who finds out his new job entails bringing souls to hell that may not deserve to go to hell. Has to be seen to be believed, and has, of course, Q John Delancey from Star Trek fan, with also the great Barry Corbin. And of course, episode 20 has the famous button style, where you press a button, something bad happens to somebody, but you get $200,000. Now, there were some remakes of certain episodes, including Shadow Play, of course, based on the Dennis Weaver Twilight Zone, and Genoa Schwartz did The Last Defender Camelot, which ended season 2 in the 24th episode. Now, for me, like I said, the season 1 really holds up in the right way, but it should have been given a 9 p.m. 9 or 10 o'clock American time slot, or 10 p.m. Atlantic time. But the key actors, I give an example: Victor Garber, Richard Kiley, Peter Coyote, William Peterson, George Zenga, Steve Railsback, Martin Balsam, the great Scott Wilson, of course, David Burney, Kenneth Mars, Robert Prescott, Adam Arkin, Karen Austin, Ralph Bellamy, Hamilton Camp, Robert Carradine, Pam Dauber, Fritz Weaver, Richard Mulligan, Sherman Hemsley, Gary Cole, Charles Martin Smith, Peter Regier, Jeffrey Jones, Jonathan Ward, again Helen Mirren in Dead Woman's Shoes, James Coco, Piper Laurie, Garrett Morris, M. Emmett Walsh, Morgan Freeman, Dan Hedaya, Glenn Thurman, Danny Kaye, Adrian Barbeau, Robert Duggan McNeil, the Robert Morris, Totally Bianca, David Dukes, D. Wallace Stone, Scott Grimes, Scott Paulette, Eric Bogosian, Lorna Luff, Jeffrey DeMunn, Meg Foster, one of my favorite actors, read Robert Klein, again Melinda Dillon, and Bruce Willis. So a who's who of the best A and B level actors of the 1980s. And if you have a chance, it's very inexpensive on DVD or Twilight Zone that season. To go through the whole year is well worth it because there's a lot of good scripts. It's just bad timing, bad ratings, and bad time slot. But I think people, after a while, noted that it was sort of like Night Gallery. Now, when he revised The Outer Limits, a few years later, they went with the expanded episodes, but they did it a little bit better because there was more background. To me, if they would have took certain scripts and kept with those good ones, and not have as many short episodes, it would have lasted longer. But a lot of people believed it didn't work because it felt more like Alfred Hitchcock Presents or Night Gallery than it felt like Twilight Zone. And they were using too many of the Twilight Zone repeats as episodes, which is a negative Nelly. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the latest podcast on Twilight Zone, what they call the second series. If you like what we're doing here with our TV podcast under Screenshots, on the remote control, let us know when to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you are a Twilight Zone fan, if you haven't seen the series, check it out, because some of the Canadian episodes are good too, as we like to say, but you have to check it out. It has to be seen to be believed. Thanks for listening. Bye.